Okay, so I've just sterilized my candy mold, which I'm going to use to make suppositories. I used boiling water, and I got this on Amazon. So here's my cocoa butter, and I'm going to use a half of a cup once it's all cut down really fine. So I'll do that. Okay, so this is going to be my double boiler. I've put boiling water in here, and I'm using glass. If you had a thinner glass, it would probably conduct the heat a little bit better. And there is my cocoa butter. You actually kind of do want to keep everything on a low heat. Once it gets too hot, you start to break down the properties of your ingredients. Another thing is when you use metals with some of your ingredients, like definitely probiotics, but short chain fatty acids I think are affected too. DMSO, there's different things that are affected by whatever properties you're using, and I know metal actually can be a bit of a culprit, even if it's stainless steel. Glass and wood, I think are best, and actually silicone, as far as I know, is pretty reasonable. So I'm just got my half of a cup of chopped up cocoa butter here, and I'm just gonna keep working this until it is melted. Okay guys, so it's melted now. That probably took about 5 minutes, so be patient. It'll happen. You might need to refresh the hot water. I did that once. Okay, so I'm going to start with this witch hazel. You can see it's alcohol free. That's really critical because you do not want to put alcohol into an inflamed rectum or colon. Okay, so here's my sterilized measuring, and I have 1 teaspoon of witch hazel. And vitamin E oil is super healing, and I'm going to just estimate 1 teaspoon of vitamin E. Okay, and here is my DMSO that is sensitive to whatever it touches, being translucent. So it's going to pick up the qualities of whatever it's touching. And I'm going to estimate like maybe 2 teaspoons. So here we go, I've got a measurement on here. That's 0.75 mils. So, and I'm going to do that. 5 mils would be a teaspoon. I'm going to just add a bit more. I'm going to do 2 teaspoons. So I'm doing about, here we go. So 2 teaspoons of DMSO. 1 teaspoon of vitamin E oil, 1 teaspoon of witch hazel, and my half a cup of shredded cocoa butter so far. Next I'm going to use butyrate. Now, this is a short chain fatty acid, and as you see it says colon lining nutrition. Butyrate, this is actually technically tributyrin, and you could use butyrate or tributyrin, and they would both work. And I'm going to throw in 8 caps. So I'm going to open these caps up. So this is my first cap of the butyrate that I've opened, and I'm just going to put that in there. And I'm going to do that with 8 caps. Okay, this is marshmallow root powder, and I'm going to do 1 teaspoon of that also. You could also do half and half with marshmallow root and slippery elm. So I'm going to just stir in my 2 powders here. My butyrate and marshmallow root. And now I have one final ingredient which might be kind of hard to come by, and it's pretty expensive. So it could be optional. It's extremely potent and helpful. It actually comes from a human gut, and it's a peptide. So you can look into peptide therapies. This is BPC 157. So this suppository could be very healing for just about anyone. In my case, because I have a stoma, my system is disconnected and my rectum is on its own. So there is, like, essentially your stool is food for your rectum. So my rectum is not being fed anything. And another thing you can do, if you know that your stool is in good condition, like I just had a recent inflammation test done, and it came back very, very low, the inflammation in my stool. So it might gross you out, but you could put a glove on and just get a little bit of like clean stool and actually put it on the suppository before you slip it inside your rear. And that would actually also help feed your rectum. So I'm going to do, normally if I was just doing a BPC suppository, I'd put all 26 in. These are very tiny. I'm going to open up, I'm going to start with 13 and see how that looks. So it's a bit powdery, but it looks pretty good. So I'm going to just stick with the 13 in this one because it's a bit more of a complex suppository than sometimes I've made. So yeah, I think that looks pretty good. So Dr. Berg recently put out a YouTube video called, I think it was called Censored, because YouTube has partnered now with somebody to try to keep us patrons safe on YouTube from home remedies, so that we are just getting, you know, FDA approved information. So this probably would not qualify in the algorithms. Anyway, it's kind of sad that we can't be adults and decide for ourselves what, you know, we want to do with our own bodies. So I'm just going to pour these in here. And we'll see how many I get. I'm going to fill this up. So that pulled 40 suppositories. So I'm going to put these in my freezer, and then I'll pop them out into a Ziploc. And when you put them in, actually, some people find them very soothing to use from a freezer, or at least from a fridge, something cool. I'm just going to transfer on a pan because it offers stability. Okay, so here they are. They look pretty good. They came out really nicely. And I'll bag them up. All done, there we go.